Okay, what's going on, everybody? This is Lady Luck. I know I said that I was not going to touch on NOVATECH anymore, but I saw a video earlier today on another channel, and I want to say the name of it, and I asked them if I could react to one of their videos because it literally almost had me in tears. And it was a couple that had a beautiful baby in the video, and they were talking about how, you know, the lack of transparency and integrity with the NOVATECH. I think it's just important to re-emphasize, part of the message that I spoke about in my video that I did a couple of days ago. Yeah, it's pretty lengthy, but one of the things that I said is that you have a lot of, in my opinion, NOVATECH promoters that are getting on videos and they're just removing facts and evidence and truth out of the situation, trying to prep up NOVATECH. And it's almost just, and like I said, I don't make my videos for confirmation bias or for willful ignorance. That's not why I did any of my videos. My videos were informative and based on reading and research and just looking up information. I have a full Just the Facts video that is a compilation of all of the information that I have researched and found. Legitimate investment companies are licensed and registered, and they don't get cease orders. And to say that the government that these promoters are bashing, talking about how they want you working in 30 to 40 years, which I personally say, which jobs are those? Because I would love to get a job right now that has me employed for 30 or 40 years. Because everybody can't promote MLM schemes and MLM sales structures and any of that. Everybody can't do that. We all have to have different occupations and to bring in, income by way of various sources. So everybody can't go out and just put money into, crypto. I mean, no one will make any money because many people have to lose a lot of money for one person to gain a lot of money. That's how that works. Whether you like crypto or not is irrelevant. That's stuff that just can be factually proven with numbers and evidence in case law. Then it is what it is. But there are companies that are licensed and registered. And I posed the question of why is it that in every single cease order that NOVATECH received, did they not request a hearing? When I told you all that they know about those cease orders before they're made public, that wasn't a lie. Because each cease order gave them 30 days to request a hearing before they were made public. Which means that the respondent has to be made aware that these cease orders are being issued. The cease order from Canada, from the OSC, they actually summoned these Dumbedians to show up for. And they failed to show up for it. They failed to send representation to those hearings. And it was two. One was in person, and then the second hearing was a video conference hearing. That is based on factual information and evidence. And when you start speaking about something, anything, where there's facts and evidence to prove you wrong, and you literally willfully ignore the truth and facts and evidence, you can't turn that and say it's your opinion without having responsibility for what you're putting out there. So now you have this whole narrative of libel and slander and defamation of character from, in my personal opinion, a bunch of clowns that can't define the term evidence or opinion or facts or truth or crypto. I mean, crypto is supposed to be digital cash, but since you all want to use it as some sort of investment contract or securities asset, then it should be registered as one. Our securities laws have been in place since the 1930s. See, they omit truth and facts out of certain narratives that fit their point, and then want to holler slander and libel and defamation of character, not understanding the definition of those terms, because these are the same people that don't read, don't care about the law, and they bash the government every time they can. I don't need to name names. You can just Google their channels. And then when you think you're deleting comments, and then, you know, the hilarity in that is that they were still recorded or print screenshot. Yeah, because you're trying to paint a narrative that you did or did not say something, or you weren't aware, or it was your opinion. No, that's not how facts and laws work. It's not a matter of your opinion. Anything that can be proven, it's the truth. That's it. And since these clowns don't understand the definitions of the term libel, slander, and defamation of character, let's look it up. Because I enjoy doing this. So what is libel? Libel involves the act of publishing a statement about an individual, either in written form or by broadcast over media platforms such as radio, television, or the internet, that is untrue and threatens to harm the reputation and or livelihood of the targeted person. Libel is considered a civil wrong tort and can therefore be the basis of a lawsuit. Libel is often compared with slander, which refers to unwritten or unpublished defamatory speech. It has to be completely false and cause damage for it to be considered libel. Telling you that you have a video where you have one of these clowns saying that the cease orders are not signed, and saying that that is not true, is not libel. See, libel, slander, and defamation of character is not a matter of whether you like it or not, because that is an infringement upon freedom of speech and protected speech. More words that they can't define. These are the same people that don't like reading laws, by the way. You should probably get attorneys. But when you make false statements that are factually false, you're held accountable for that. Someone calling you a clown because that's their opinion is one thing. But you saying that cease orders that are documents either from a federal court or a government agency was not signed when there is proof and evidence to show that it was, is false and misleading, because you just flat out lied. The law just has a pretty way of saying that. I call it a lie. They call it false and misleading. Same thing. Because it can be factually proven that all 3 cease orders are signed. Deleting your comments doesn't necessarily mean that you're completely absolved of false and misleading statements either. The audacity to actually get a temper tantrum over someone saying that you're making a false and misleading statement by saying that cease orders are not signed, when that can be proven in court with documentation that they are indeed signed, is the epitome of hypocrisy. And it's laughable. And everything in heaven, on earth, and probably in hell, there's probably demons laughing at you right now for that nonsense you're spewing out of your mouth, in my opinion. So here's some key takeaways. Libel is a category of defamation that includes defamatory statements that are published, broadcast, tort under common law, for which a defamed party can sue for damages. Pure opinions, true statements, and some criticism of public figures may be protected against claims of libel. Slander, a similar legal concept, involves defamatory speech that is not written or broadcast. Understanding libel. You all see that here. Just to point out a few statements that's here that you can Google. Investopedia. I mean, at some point in life, facts are still facts, and your opinions are what they are. But never should you be using opinion to substitute truth and evidence. Because like I said in my previous video, if everything is a matter of opinion, what solidifies facts, laws, and evidence and truth? This isn't La La Land. This is not utopia. There's a whole reality of life happening where people are being hurt because they're not getting their money back from NOVATECH. Where there are people who are true victims. And that's one of the things I want to clear up and make sure that is understood. There are people who got into this because they knew it was a Ponzi and they knew how to get in and get out. It's not a matter of crypto. That's just a matter of being slick and understanding timing. You can dress it up how you want and claim it to be your opinion all day until Jesus comes back. But at the end of the day, that is irrelevant from being crypto versus going to play Russian roulette at a casino. And those same people keep comparing this to being some sort of casino game. Except there were many people who believed NOVATECH to be an actual investment firm. And if all you had was that dumb, stupid comp plan to solidify NOVATECH and nothing else out there, because nobody talks about the cease order except a couple channels. You know, there are 2-3 channels that even mentioned the word cease order. Many of you keep passing it off that's promoting NOVATECH, keep passing off, you know, these cease orders like it's some challenge, like it's fake and doesn't exist, when it is actual legal documentation that is evidence, a fact of what's happened and not happened with NOVATECH. That can be proven in the court of law. You want to talk about court of law? Let me help you out. They had 3 opportunities to request hearings in every single cease order to rectify these things in the court of law, and yet they failed to do it. They were summoned to go to the hearing in Canada for the OSC regarding their cease order, and yet they failed to do it. They were given a second opportunity to defend themselves in a video conference hearing. They didn't even have to travel for that one, and yet they failed to do it. And yet none of you NOVATECH promoters out there can actually answer the question of why they failed to request hearings, to go to the hearings, to prove their evidence or information or whatever they have, to justify and say that this is legitimate, we are doing things the right way. Why didn't they do that? And the answer is going to be, because I already know the answer to it, I don't know. The clownery of this. It's clownery. I don't know. You'll quickly say you don't know why they didn't do that. Well, then if you don't know and you can't answer that, then don't try to legitimize their wrongdoing. They had 3 opportunities to request hearings to prove themselves legitimate in some shape, form, or fashion. They failed to take the opportunity to do it. And yet you still have people pretending like cease orders don't exist. Facts and evidence that they want to just disappear out of reality because they claim that everything they say somehow is just a matter of opinion. There's no differences of opinion. And you will probably find that out the hard way, in my opinion, in the court of law, when you are summoned to go to a hearing, in my opinion. Because we can do that nonsense all day. It does not solidify any of that wrongdoing or the fact that they simply failed to request hearings and to try to prove their case with facts and evidence, proof of trading, proof that they're maintaining finances, financial statements. I have literally Googled the entire internet for financial statements for NOVATECH Ltd. Or NOVATECHFX or NovaPay or Nova Trading, OU. All of these subsidiaries, no financial statements whatsoever. Whole laws being violated by failing to simply register, even in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And they failed to request hearings in every single cease order where they were given 30 days to do so. They didn't do it. That is not a matter of opinion. That is a fact that can be proven. You cannot make false and misleading statements and then call it an opinion. And then when I point it out to you in your comments section, you delete the comments like they're not recorded or already snapshot somehow because, you know, in my opinion, your brain is gone. But how does that fare well for you if you try to sue someone for libel and slander? Or defamation of character when your YouTube channels actually grew because you chose to do confirmation bias and ignore cease orders and fail to mention the entire truth about NOVATECH. And then everything that's facts and evidence, you're calling it your opinion. How do you think that's going to fare well for you when you try to file a lawsuit against someone for libel, slander, and defamation of character? And then not smart enough to think I could be countersued. And then discovery of materials. And then be deposed under oath. If you have a problem with telling the truth in a YouTube video, how the hell you think you're going to do when you get deposed under oath in the federal court of law? Where you don't think laws are laws and facts aren't facts and everything is a matter of your opinion. Good luck to that. You should hire an attorney. Lord have mercy. I've been saying this from day one. No, get an attorney, please. Please get an attorney so your goofy behind, in my opinion, can take your stupid brainless self to a court of law, get deposed under oath, and fail miserably, in my opinion. Or have discovery of materials where it doesn't matter what you say, whether you're being paid or not. I mean, that could easily be proven or disproven because your transactions in your e-wallets can never be deleted. It's a permanent record. So if you are being paid to promote NOVATECH, that can be obtained through discovery of materials or a subpoena. So good luck to your dumb lawsuit because you don't understand definitions of terms, in my opinion. These same clowns talking about this damages and libel and blah, blah, blah. And yet their YouTube channels have grown. They have more viewers, which means more money made in their videos. And they're probably made a lot more money than they care to share from the foolishness of NOVATECH that it is. That's not something I have to guess or assume. That could just be something proven. Because in this reality, facts and evidence and laws are not a matter of your opinion. Laws don't care about your feelings. We're going to keep going with this libel stuff because, you know, they're not going to ever look this up. I guess they want to be intimidating as usual, in my opinion. Because, you know, two can play this game. We can do opinions all day. And you're still going to come out a sore loser. I mean, you're not going to win this side. It's interesting to visualize those same people getting placed under oath and deposed. Because liars are going to lie. And then they think deleting their comments is doing something. Oh, Lord. Silly, silly little Ponzi promoters. It's so cute how you think that facts and laws are a matter of your opinion. And just because you say, I'm just a person on YouTube sharing my experience and journey, that somehow exempts you from like wire fraud or falsely misleading statements or deceptive business practices, or you could be committing libel or slander because you guys can't help yourselves and you refuse to read. Let's keep going because I know what the heck I'm talking about. All right, libel represents the published or broadcast version of defamation. Defamation occurs when an individual's words damage another person's reputation or tarnish their ability to earn a living. If your YouTube channel grows from 10,000 to 20,000 or 50,000 subs, how is your ability to earn a living damaged? How is that damaged? Nobody's getting paid with NOVATECH. So how is your ability to earn a living being damaged when your YouTube channel is actually growing? And that can be proven as well in the court of law. because facts and laws are laws and your opinion is stupid. In my opinion. I gotta keep saying that. Oh, Lord, have mercy. Persons who commit libel can be subjected to civil and, in the past, criminal penalties. Because there's case laws for that, right? In the U.S., libel was once considered an area of unprotected speech not covered by the First Amendment freedoms, along with obscenity and fighting words. This changed over the course of the 20th century as court decisions, case law, began to favor free speech over the protection of those damaged by potentially defamatory speech. The law says get over your feelings. It's not about how you feel when it comes to the law, facts, and evidence. Because in my opinion, your opinion is dumb. Yes. Let's keep going. Proving libel. For someone to be found guilty of committing libel, the target of the offending comments does not necessarily have to claim to be harmed as a result of the published statement. Several types of defamatory statements are considered damaging in themselves, regardless of whether they can be shown to have resulted in actual harm. These include allegations of criminal activity, statements that someone has a contagious disease, accusations of sexual misconduct, and allegations of unprofessional, improper business conduct. Lastly, truth is recognized as a complete defense action, a complete defense against complaints of defamation. Depending on the jurisdiction, a defamatory statement may be presumed to be false, in which case the defendant can raise an affirmative defense if they can show it is substantially true, or the burden may be on the plaintiff to that an allegedly defamatory statement is in fact false in order to prove their claim. Do you understand what this means? For you brainless simps that keep talking about slander, libel, and defamation of character. Do you understand that the burden of proof is on you to prove that the statements were false by factual evidence and proof? Not because you didn't like it. If I can prove that you made a false and misleading statement in your video when you said, and I quote, the cease order was not even signed by California. And I can prove by showing the cease order that it is indeed signed. You have to prove that me saying to you that you made a false and misleading statement was libel, because that was substantially false and there's no document to prove that the cease order was signed, or that you completely did not lie about it. That's what you have to prove, because I can prove that the cease order was signed and that the statement you made was intentionally made to be false and misleading. Please get an attorney before you go throwing around terms you cannot define. In my opinion, you should do more reading. Lord have mercy. See, this is the nonsense that people are being subjected to when they have to see some of these videos of these Ponzi promoters talking about slander, and they all start saying the same thing. If you watch at least 5 or 6 of their videos, especially the big ones that keep promoting NOVATECH and refuse to just tell the truth or say the words cease order and read it, or answer the question as to why, these peons refused to schedule a hearing within the 30 days they were given in each cease order to defend themselves. If you listen to the messages that they make, it's almost like they all, it's simultaneous and it's almost in unison. Like they all have meetings where they get together and then say, okay, here's what we're going to say this week. Now we're going to say slander, libel, and defamation of character. And then they all start saying that. None of them looking up the definition of those terms, though. Did you all call an attorney to get some help on understanding what those are. I mean, and then you have to also look up the definition of freedom of speech, freedom of the press, as well as SLAPP lawsuits and anti-SLAPP. More concepts that, in my opinion, they will not ever read when they cannot define the terms law, evidence, crypto, Bitcoin, trading platform, SEC, FBI. Opinion, promote. Like, that's another word they should literally look up the definition of. Look up the definition of the word promote. Let's start with that. Because in my opinion, you're going to go to court and sue someone on slander and libel and defamation when you literally have no proof to show any of those things, especially when all the evidence is literally in the opposite direction. Because you didn't understand the definition of the term promote. In my opinion, seeing half of these clowns get into a stand and be placed under oath to be deposed is going to be the best thing ever, in my opinion. We can do this all day. I'm just saying. So here you see the differences between libel and slander. This is Investopedia, but you guys can literally Google the terms libel and slander, defamation of character, and get the differences between those three things and understanding what it takes to actually have that case proven in a court of law. Because nobody got time for you to go in there talking about, she hurt my feelings. When you're lying about a cease order being signed that can literally be proven with evidence that it is signed, because reasons, in my opinion. Here's more information, because reading is fundamental. That could be my opinion, but it's also a point of fact. Can opinions be libel? No. Statements of opinion are protected speech and cannot be prosecuted as libel, unlike a statement of fact. Saying that it is your opinion that order is not signed is not protected, because that is a factual statement. That literally can be disproven. Because these are the same people that don't know the differences between facts, opinions, laws, and evidence. Like, they refuse to read the definitions of those terms. My God. And then they talk about God like, like God got something to do with a Ponzi scheme. I mean, I'm calling NOVATECH a Ponzi scheme because the law calls it that. Because 3 cease orders with a ton of evidence calls it that. And because a Ponzi scheme is where you take money as investors to pay old investors because they haven't proven that they're trading. Because they refuse to schedule a hearing to defend themselves in court, in a hearing, in anything. Had they scheduled a hearing, they would have had the opportunity to go to court and try to prove their case. They knew that they received those cease orders because they had them at least 30 days in advance before they were even made available to the public. Because each of the cease orders, how the law works is, and this is not my opinion, you can read and research it because I'm not an attorney, but it's something I read and researched. But how it works is they inform you that investigation is ongoing. These are the allegations, is what's been discovered in the investigation. Here's the evidence on this. You have 30 days to request a hearing. If you do not do that, then this cease order will become effective, is signed, and then they make it available to the public. And that's exactly what happened 3 times. California, Canada, a whole nother country, by the way, and Wisconsin. Why didn't they request hearings and take it to the court of law and try to defend themselves? They don't have legal representation or attorneys. They couldn't hire them. What happened with that? It's funny how these same promoters will go and they will stop short of answering any questions that make sense. Because in my opinion, they're willing to defend the nonsense and the wrongdoing, but then will tell you, I don't know how do they have to prove to us they're trading? Yes, because legitimate trading and investment firms that do anything with the stock market and do trading on someone's behalf, claiming to be a hedge fund, proves that they're trading. Why are they the exception? Because in my opinion, it's very cultish for all of these promoters to somehow start saying the same thing, and none of them want to take the time to read anything. So you want the court of law to be on your side when it's convenient for you, when you want to talk about libel, defamation of character, and slander. But any other time, the U.S. government doesn't want you to make any money. They want you to work for 30 or 40 years, which wouldn't be a bad thing. I don't understand why that's so harsh and negative. I mean, where are those jobs at? I mean, my God, I should be applying for that job that is going to give me some stability and security for 30, 40 years if I choose to work, until maybe one day a money tree grows in my backyard with diamonds on it and gold bars. And that maybe that'll happen because reasons. I'm just saying. This is where we are in life, where alternate forms of reality and unicorns fly, and people think that someone's saying, I'm a hedge fund and I trade on people's behalf for them because they may not know what crypto is enough to be able to do it themselves. But they never get licensed or registered to do it. They don't defend themselves by actually requesting hearings or showing up to the hearings they were summoned to do, and not presenting a shred of evidence that they're actually trading. And these same promoters somehow just say, oh, well, do they have to do it? What? You have legitimate crypto trading platforms out there that exist on Earth. So in my opinion, if you're legitimate, you wouldn't have a problem doing that. Why would you just throw money into something where they can't prove they're trading? Then get on another platform. Wouldn't that make sense? In my opinion, we can do this all day. Here's an article that I heavily recommend: 10 ways to identify a brand collaboration scam and what to do instead. Yeah, because reading. And the author is Margaret Bourne. It's very good. You should read it. So you see, you get more information about partnerships and sponsored posts and brand collaborations, and those who might, in my opinion, claim that they're not being paid by NOVATECH to promote it, despite the fact that they are not going to ever prove to you if they were being paid by NOVATECH to promote it in any situation, unless they decide to want to file a lawsuit for libel or slander or defamation of character, and fail to actually think that they could be countersued, have discovery of materials where all the transactions are going to come to light, or subpoenaed for that information, and then be deposed under oath. Because lawsuits. Oh, y'all can read. More reading is good to do. This is a really good article. You should look. Brand collaboration scams. Because it's a thing. Yeah, all right. Then you guys can just kind of go down the list and, what I'm curious to know is why are Telegram groups being deleted? Why are you all deleting evidence and messages and all this other stuff? Well, you have no idea who has recorded it or did a snapshot of it. What is the point in that? Do you realize that information could be retrieved, especially if it goes to a backup server that you have no control over? I mean, YouTube could literally have a backup servers to store information that you think you're deleting. And then if they get a subpoena to pull all that evidence and those comments and videos that you thought you deleted, they could probably retrieve it. I mean, someone captured it somewhere, somehow, and recorded it. Yeah. Because you should be held accountable for your false and misleading statements, in my opinion, especially when it is a complete false statement that you made that could easily be disproven with facts and evidence, because that is not the same thing as your opinion. No, it's not. No, it's not. There's another article about libel and slander, because reading. So we have the libel and then we have the slander, and it goes through what libel is written defamation, slander, oral defamation. Though much spoken speech that has a written transcript also falls under the rubric of libel, meaning your YouTube videos where you can transcribe what you're saying. Yeah, that can also fall under libel as well, because it's written transcript. First Amendment rights of free speech and free press often clash with the interests served by defamation law. The press exists in large parts to report on issues of public concern. NOVATECH is an issue of public concern because they have cease orders that these promoters don't want to discuss. Some of them do. I will give credit where it is due. Some of them do. The sad part is I can count them on one hand. I can count them on one hand. And I think it's just, it goes into just the matter of integrity at this point. Because if you're still pretending like, I don't want to talk bad about them like you owe them some allegiance of some sort, but then you want to talk about libel and slander in words you don't understand the definition of at all. I don't understand. Why would you perceive it to your audience of what? A growing audience at that, because defamation has to prove that somehow your ability to earn income is being hindered. But if your YouTube channels are growing because of your nonsense, then how is that damage is being done? I'm sorry. Who are y'all attorneys? Who are your attorneys? Because hopefully they just tell you the flat out truth. I really hope you get some attorneys that can give you some advice, that have integrity as well, that will just tell you the truth and just break down this information as well, because defamation laws are something that a lot of people don't understand, because they simply see or hear something that they just don't like, and then they think, oh, that's defamation of character, not knowing the definition of it, nor have they consulted with an attorney to get understanding of it. Some people can just read the information and understand it. Some people need an attorney to help them understand it. But either way, in all thy getting, because that's a biblical scripture that apparently you got to talk in some sort of religious mode for some of these people to understand where you're coming from. You got to speak Bible to really drive that point home. In all thy getting, get some understanding. Understanding comes from reading and gaining knowledge. So, yeah. The press exists in large to report on issues of public concern. I'm an independent researcher that did reporting on NOVATECH, and I presented information like this that I researched, because this is a thing. So, however, individuals possess a right not to be subjected to falsehoods that impugn their character. It has to be a falsehood that you can prove to be false. You're trying to accuse someone else's opinion and protected speech of being libel and slander when you're earning more money the more you put out your false and misleading statements. I'm sorry, how does this countersuit, how do you think this countersuit is going to work in your behalf, in your favor? I honestly have told half of these promoters, please get an attorney. You're going to need one. Because in my opinion, if you don't want to look up definition of terms like promote, I don't think you're going to make it on your own. Like, you guys have these come to Jesus meetings and then say, well, here's our defense this week. Ridiculous. All right, let's just keep reading. Because I can do this up. This is hilarious to me. The clash between the two rights can lead to expensive litigation, million-dollar jury verdicts, and negative public views of the press. Because it can. So everyone has the right to protect one's good name is basically what comes down to the defamation laws. Just protecting your name and the view's opinion of you. And if it's going to actually hinder or alter your ability to earn a living or get business gain clients or customers or any of that. When your YouTube channels are growing at an exponential rate, and that is something that can be proven in the court of law because facts and evidence aren't your opinion, how can you prove that you're being damaged? How can you prove that your ability to earn money is being hindered? Oh no, you don't like it because it hurt your feelings. So defamation suits can threaten. I'm down here at the bottom. I'm not going to read the whole thing because there's a lot of case law. You guys can read in that. And I think it's good to read case law if you, in my opinion, fail to define certain simple terms like, promote and evidence or fact, opinion, the definition of the term opinion. Then I don't really expect these same people to actually read case law, but that would be good to do. And that would be good to do. Defamation suits can threaten and test the vitality of First Amendment rights. If a person fears that she can be sued, for defamation for publishing or uttering a statement, he or she may avoid uttering the expression, even if such speech should be protected by the First Amendment. This chilling effect on speech is one reason why there has been a proliferation of so-called anti-slap suits to allow individuals a way to fight back against these baseless lawsuits that are designed to silence expression. I'm just going to kind of, in my opinion, give you a little help on words that you should also look up on dictionary.com. Chilling effect, First Amendment, speech, proliferation, slap, anti-slap, suits, baseless, lawsuits, expression. You should probably look up the definition of those terms, because in my opinion, you're going to try to sue someone for libel or slander or defamation of character and then get that countersuit. And then you're really going to look like the idiot that you come off to be, in my opinion. Reasons. All right. More case law at the bottom. Got some justices down their name. Be good to look those up and look up what a slap suit is. Yeah, good stuff to read. All right. More stuff to read. Libel was once viewed as unprotected by First Amendment, but now it is. I mean, there's certain words. The F word is probably one of the most protected words by law and case law that we have in America. Even though it's not tasteful, and I try my best not to use profanity, but if I did, it would actually be protected by free speech. Because laws, another word you should define. More information that people should read. Sedition Act of 1798 passed the signs of opposition regarding France, blah, 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 lots of things. Case laws, articles, read it all, because you're going to probably need to do that. More case laws. More reasons. Information, facts, case laws. All right. Getting the good stuff here. More information you should read. Case and determining status of plaintiff. Basic requirements of a defamation case. We're going to go over that. And here it is. A defamation plaintiff must usually establish the following elements to recover. Identification. The plaintiff must show the publication was of and concerning himself or herself. Publication. The plaintiff must show that the defamatory statements were disseminated to a third party. In slander cases, this generally means that the speaker's defamatory comments must be heard by a third party. Defamatory meaning. The plaintiff must establish that the statements in question were defamatory. For example, the language must do more than simply annoy a person or hurt a person's feelings. The language must do more than simply annoy a person or hurt a person's feelings. Because in the court of law, facts are facts and laws are laws. The end. That is not an opinion. But one court reasoned that calling an attorney an ambulance chaser does have a defamatory meaning because it essentially is accusing the lawyer of violating the rules of professional conduct, which limit solicitation, meaning that attorneys' ability to earn income could be greatly hindered. When your YouTube is growing at an exponential rate, I'm sorry, how are you being? Oh, you're not. Okay, got it. Falsity. The statements must be false. There you go. Truth is a defense to a defamation claim. Generally, the plaintiff bears the burden of proof of establishing falsity. So if you go and sue someone for libel and slander and defamation of character, you have to prove the falsity. It must be false and not a matter of that defendant's opinion. Meaning, if you say that this cease order from California was not signed, and I pointed out to you that that could be a false and misleading statement, then you must prove that me saying that that is a false and misleading statement is false, and that the cease order is indeed not signed. When when the whole state of California has documentation and evidence, along with what's on the internet and available to the public, can literally prove that that cease order has a signature. Because laws. Please get an attorney. All right. It's just, it's so funny. It's so funny. Yeah, I personally believe, in my opinion, that these promoters have a come to Jesus meeting on Sundays, and then they say, well, we're going to say this week. How are we going to explain this? Another cease order? What are we going to say to explain this away? Lord. Because they don't understand the definition of the term promote. Goodness. Hey, all right. So yeah, the plaintiff bears that burden of proof, and you understand that if you're filing the lawsuit, you're the plaintiff, and the person you're filing it against is the defendant or the respondent, and then they have the right to counter sue you as well for that and more. Just, they can do that that can happen all day, every day, Then you have this burden of proof plus the ability to get discovery of material. So anything relevant to the case. If you think someone's saying that you're a promoter, it's a falsity, and then they countersue and say, no, they were paid because their e-wallets transactions tell on them. Then you have to prove how that's false with facts and evidence, not your opinion in court. Good luck that. Statements of fact. The statements in question must be objectively verifiable as false statements of fact. In other words, the statements must be provable as false. Ain't God good? I'm just saying. Because we got to say that. Yeah, I do not. Listen, let's not weaponize Christianity when you don't like it being flipped back on you. Let's not accuse people of words that you don't understand the definitions of when it could be flipped back on you, because, anyone can just do a counterclaim. But you still have to prove with evidence that they're provable as false, that the cease order in California did not have a signature. Good luck to that. Yes. The comment this is irrelevant because I got pictures of it. All right, damages. The false and defamatory statements must cause actual injury or special damages. And your YouTube growing, which means you're getting more views and more money and ad revenue generated on YouTube's platform, because that's how that works. If your videos are then you're actually getting more money because more views and more likes and more activity keeps your videos in rotation. So if you decide to sue someone for libel, slander, defamation of character, and then you go and you utterly fail because Either you can't prove that it's provable false as false, or because you realize that, hey, everyone else has the right to their opinions as well. And because I don't like what's being said, I have a whole video of just the facts, of just evidence and research that I did. And if NOVATECH and these, in my opinion, dumb peons wanted to really prove the validity of NOVATECH itself, they could have requested hearings or showed up for the hearings they were summoned to. Still a question that none of these promoters want to answer. They don't want to, why they failed to actually come into compliance or prove or show financial statements or actually get a share to be or registered as a hedge fund or a trading firm. Why didn't they do that in their so-called 4.5, almost 5 years of existence? Why didn't they do that? The question they don't want to answer. Okay. So you got defenses and privileges in a defamation case. Honestly, if the basic requirements aren't met, good luck to that, because you'll be countersued and then he'll lose utterly. You'll fail and it will be laughable. And I hope it's televised and it goes, global, because people are just trying to figure out what's going on and how are they going to get their money back. Nobody has the patience or the temperament or the time or the energy at this point to sit here and trail the internet for videos of people talking about NOVATECH to be told more nonsense about how y'all have to be patient. You understand in this crypto space that you took the risk and blah, 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 when they should have registered as a hedge fund to do trading on anyone's behalf to begin with. And why did they not actually address the cease orders or request hearings to defend themselves? Why didn't they do that? That is something that people want to know, what's happening with their money. And the channel that I saw earlier, the video, I literally was out to them because they're not, like I said, it's not I'm a stupid thing. They believe that it worked. Yeah. You take their money and then you pay other investors, other people's money. That's going to work as long as the money is flowing in. But it gets to a point, like I said in my video, about integrity and character and being honest and upfront and telling people what's going on. Weaponizing Christianity is not going to always be the answer to the problem. You're telling people to trust this and trust that and putting out scriptures, but yet you're lying and cheating and stealing. You're breaking whole commandments in the Bible. What does it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his soul and home and, his honor and integrity and YouTube channels? And I don't see why anyone will be willing to pay that price. That's a heavy price to pay. And then you want to talk about libel, slander, and defamation of character. It is just the epitome of hypocrisy. And it's laughable. It's laughable because these are the same people that will kick the U.S. They have whole videos where they're just dogging out the U.S. government, dogging out the laws. They're dogging out our justice system. They're saying that people shouldn't report anything to the SEC and it's going to be a waste of time and money. You don't think filing a slap suit is a waste of time and money? Then in my opinion, you are as dumb as you sound in your videos where you're still trying to defend NOVATECH, in my opinion. It doesn't make sense. Stop defending this stupidity. Stop telling people that there's just some challenges people have to be patient on when no one's being paid. Stop lying to people about the situation with the cease orders. Those cease orders can literally just be retrieved and read. I literally have posted them in videos. They're factual, provable statements, evidence that could be used in the court of law to show that they orders that are signed that they did not even want to acknowledge or request hearings to defend themselves. You can't talk about them, the court of law just have to prove when they had 3 chances to prove it in the court of law. What more are you expecting them to do in the court of law? This woman majored in psychology. That is what she posted up about herself. Whether that's true or not, I'm just going based on what I saw and read and researched. I'm not going to sit here and let me address this. Doxing someone is dumb. When you have evidence and facts to literally prove your point, I don't need to dox anybody to just pull up libel, slander, and defamation of character and show and prove why I think any of these promoters saying that is laughable to everything in heaven and on earth, and then they're probably being laughed at in hell. And they might find out the easy way or the hard way. That's my opinion. But this woman majored in psychology. She understands human behavior. Google psychology and what that means and what that is the study of. I don't need to dox her to know that. She said that herself. She also knows that, and statistics also have proven, many people in low-income areas that are socioeconomically disadvantaged rely on their faith. Her using and weaponizing any religion, especially Christianity in the U.S., which is one of the main religions here in the U.S., was going to work. Period. I don't care if she's black, white, male, or female. It's irrelevant. She weaponized it knowing that it was going to work, but yet failed to prove proof of trading, proof of legitimacy as a hedge fund that trades on behalf of other investors. Why didn't she request hearings and show up for the hearings in Canada that she was summoned to go to? Oh, no one can answer that. Great. But yet you want to defend it on everything else because you're 20, 30, 40, 50,000 subs that you somehow got magically in a matter of weeks to months. That is an actual, the direct opposite of your ability to actually earn more income. Proof that that is the opposite of your ability to earn more income. Somehow would just unsubscribe to your channel if you were to, for once, tell the truth. Because reasons. Libel, slander, defamation, whatever. When you look up the term promote, then you should probably get on and say something about that. But it's hypocritical, to say the least. And that's something else that God spoke against in the Bible. Being hypocritical. Jesus never had to tell people that, he'll perform a miracle for 2 or 3 pieces of silver and a donkey. Like he didn't make money helping people. He just did it. He traveled near and far and he helped people because that's what he wanted to do. He didn't have to pay anyone any money or charge anyone any money, rather, to do that. But he didn't pimp anybody out. That's not something Jesus did. Could he have been tempted the 40 days and 40 nights he spent in the wilderness? Probably. But he chose not to be. He chose integrity and honor and truth. And he defended it. And that's the bottom line. Why not defend yourselves if you're doing something right? Why sit here and talk about, that'll just be proven in court when they had 3 chances to prove it in court? What do you think is going to happen any differently now in court when they had 3 missed opportunities already? What do you think is going to be different? Using terms like Ponzi scheme and all of that, legally that might be phrased differently, but the definitions are the same. And when you look up definitions of terms, you'll understand that. So I think it's hilarious for anyone to talk about, libel and slander and defamation when they don't understand the definitions of those terms, or the term promote, or Ponzi, or scam, or fraud, or I mean, so many words that they probably should be reading definitions on. And it's funny to me how all of these channels start to say the same thing around the same timing. And you can see it, to me, in my opinion, it's very cultish. It's very cultish. It's as if they're being spoon-fed this information to spew back out to people that are going to their channels and their videos to get information about when they're getting their money back. And they act as if they're afraid. What I've been praying for is starting to happen. Is that people will start speaking up. And people will start to state the truth about NOVATECH. And that this would happen on its natural course, as it should happen. For those that talked about the cease orders, good job. I'm glad you did. Because you did more than the average NOVATECHian on YouTube. If you were able to report about the cease orders and just tell the truth of the situation, that's great. That is something you should do all the time about any of these so-called programs with this crypto trading. I literally, I said, and I know, few people have seen my videos because you could tell by their so-called response, oh, a name is being dragged through the mud. Your name has to be said to be dragged through the mud, and it has to be verifiable as false. All these requirements here. Yeah, just good luck to that. But yet you don't want to look up the term promote. Just the definition of that word, bringing public awareness, is exactly what's being done. Nobody cares about that. People want to overlook that. People, the basic fundamentals of the facts and evidence of what has been proven already in courts from these government agencies doing investigations. The fact that Canada has 50 pieces of evidence. Is that how much more do they need to get? How many more missed opportunities to file and request hearings needs to happen before you realize they've had 3 chances, 4 chances, because 2 of them was from Canada. The first hearing they were summoned to, they didn't show up. The second one was to extend the actual cease order, and they were summoned to a video conference hearing. They could have requested a whole hearing. They didn't do it. And no one wants to say why, or why they failed to provide financial statements or proof of trading. And then try to defend it by saying they don't have to do that. Legitimate trading companies do that. How do you think that's going to fare well in court when a judge hears you say that? Because you wanted to sue someone for libel and didn't think that there will be a countersuit that you would not have to be deposed under oath. How do you think that's going to fare well when you're asked, well, is there proof of trading? Do you have proof of trading? Well, they don't have to give it to us. Or they play your video. Luck to that. More information to read. Truth or substantial truth. Statements in judicial, legislative, and administrative proceedings. Fair report or fair comment. Libel-proof plaintiffs. Rhetorical hyperbole. Case law. You should read. Retraction statutes. That's a thing. So when I stated that the FBI does not do audits, guess what I had to do? Pull up information and post it out. Because I want there to be some level of integrity when people are watching my videos and seeing information that can be easily Googled and researched. Because I don't want to say something that can be proven false. So I had to go back and research forensic accounting versus investigative accounting. That would probably fall under the FBI agency. And put that information out. Is it too difficult to ask or to expect half of you to get a soul that have not reported on the term cease orders to just at the very least say, I'm not going to, do anything that sounds like it's promotion of NOVATECH until they start paying people back. Is that too much to ask for? Probably. I don't know. Because half your YouTube subscribers would leave your channels. And you know, in my opinion, sound like you have just completely been brainwashed into a cult and someone's telling you what to say. In my opinion. Because reasons. Libel. Whatever. All right. That's all the information that I have. I mean, I think this needed to be said because I think that that whole concept of saying libel, slander, defamation, it's just another intimidation factor. Trying to infringe upon other people's right to freedom of speech, freedom of the press from independent, journalists like myself, truth seekers, people like, Ponzi Patrol. Like I said, I don't agree with anybody doxing anyone, but if the information is out there and made to the public, that's not doxing. It can just be Googled. If this woman put out information about what school she attended and that she majored in psychology and she understands human behavior, that's not something that I needed to dox anybody. I don't even care that much to dig that deep. I'm going to be honest with you. Just like y'all e-wallet transactions that are permanent records that can never be deleted, no matter how hard you try. If someone pulls that up and they're able to just access that, your e-wallet information to show transactions and who it belongs to, whether you were paid or not to promote something or not, can just be proven. It could be my assumption, but either it's going to be proven that you were paid to promote or you weren't paid to promote it. But then the payments aren't. So the presumption is still there. Those payments aren't labeled with those e-wallet addresses. It's not like a category you can select. This is for a promotion of NOVATECH. This payment is just from your trading account. It's not a promotion with that. So, I mean, it's not a category with that. So even if you're not promoted, it's just you still saying I wasn't promoted versus I was promoted, and here are the payments. That comes through discovery of material too. So preaching about libel and slander and defamation, like I said, it is just hilarious at this point. I mean, no one should be saying that stuff unless they actually understand what that pertains. And it should not be used as a method of, in my opinion, intimidating anyone to keep them from talking about, what you're doing in your YouTube channels that's on a public platform that you chose to make available to the public. And deleting comments are only good if no one captures the print screenshot or records it. Otherwise, what do you think you're deleting again? I mean, do you know how many cybersecurity forensic analysts could just retrieve information you thought was deleted? I don't understand it. I mean, these, like I said, these are, in my opinion, some of the same people that cannot define the terms promote or opinion or any other words that I've mentioned here and already in this video that they should probably Googling and researching, or just get an attorney to help you understand this stuff from a legal perspective. I am not an attorney, and I don't give legal advice. I want people to read and understand and research. I don't follow that up by giving legal advice. I read the information that is available to the public online. And then I question, why didn't these, in my opinion, dumb peons schedule hearings to defend themselves? And I patiently wait for an answer. Kick rocks, NOVATECH, in my opinion.